You're listening to the Infinite Banking Mastery Podcast. Did you know that you could build a tax-free pool of wealth that's liquid and accessible all your life while building your retirement nest egg? Gain full control of your financial future and stop relying on the government and banks. The wealthy have already discovered this wealth-building secret. Now it's your turn to get financially secure without following the conventional wisdom that keeps you in debt to banks. Now here's your host, Valerie LaRocque.
Hello, and welcome to the Infinite Banking Mastery Podcast once again. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening in. You are much appreciated. Today, I wanted to talk about a risk that can derail your plan. And I'm not just talking about your infinite banking plan. I'm talking about any plan, even tomorrow's afternoon lunch plans. And that is a disability. Now, when people hear the word disability, they often think, oh, that means I got hit in a car wreck or something and I'm hospitalized. Something terrible happened, a tragedy of some sort, which could cause you to have a disability that would qualify you to receive benefits from a disability plan. But when I refer to the importance of having disability coverage, I'm talking about having protection for anything in the world that could cause you to become too hurt or too sick to work. Did you know that the number one cause of bankruptcy is medical debt? The number one cause of bankruptcy in the US is medical debt. Because when something happens, cancer or some catastrophic illness, it is so expensive, as I'm sure you know from just talking to the people in your life who have dealt with these things. The cost is astronomical when you get really, truly sick. And so how long would you be able to go without your income? A few weeks, maybe? A few months? But what about a year or 5 years? That is going to be really hard to get through for most people. What if you were to have some sort of stroke that caused you to be unable to speak or remember how to read or write? This has happened to people I know, and it takes a long time. Sometimes that rehab takes a very long time to be able to get that ability to write and read back. And that whole time, you may not have any income coming in. Even a young family member in my extended family in her 40s had a stroke. It was so unexpected. Nobody could believe it. Very healthy woman who's just seems completely fine all of a sudden has this stroke. So you just never really know what could happen and when. People often think that their greatest asset is their home or maybe their business. But two of your most valuable assets are actually time and your ability to earn an income. You wouldn't even have that home or that business without your ability to earn an income. That is one of your most valuable assets. And so most of us, of course, we wouldn't think of driving a car without car insurance or having a home without property insurance or insuring even our valuable jewelry like diamonds or wedding rings. We all would want to have health insurance. Everybody, of course, wants to have good health insurance, because we don't want to have to be caught in a situation where we have some very expensive medical. But for some reason, many people don't consider or don't think it's needed or simply don't want to cover the hundreds of thousands of dollars or maybe millions of dollars that are yet to be earned before retirement happens. Picture a bunch of building blocks. And on these blocks, there's different words on each one of them. One says medical, one says utilities, one says food, one says auto, education, home, insurance, clothes, retirement. All these blocks have these different words on them. And there's also blocks that you can put together that will spell the word income. Now, none of those blocks with the different words on them are going to happen until you have that layer of income first. So you have to first have your building blocks of income before you can build your little tower with the other things you need in life: food, your car payment, car insurance, home. All those things are dependent on your income. Income protection should come first. Whether people say it out loud or not, it seems that many people are thinking, well, it won't happen to me. It's not going to happen to me. Well, it certainly could happen to you, unfortunately. In fact, right now, every 1 second, somebody becomes disabled. Every 1 second. That is crazy. In the US, every 15 seconds, somebody has a motor vehicle accident and becomes disabled. Every 10 seconds, somebody gets hurt at work and becomes unable to work, disabled. Somebody becomes disabled off the job, just somewhere else, at home or wherever. Every 3 seconds, somebody becomes disabled from being somewhere off the job. At home, even, somebody becomes disabled every 2 seconds. It is crazy to think about how even since the beginning of this podcast, there have been hundreds of people who have become too sick or too hurt to work, which they classify as disabled. In 2021, 62 million injuries resulted in over $1.2 billion in cost. And there we have it, the medical cost that's causing bankruptcy all over the nation. By the way, I did get those statistics from the National Safety Council, Injury Facts. That was the source. If we just take a look at a few examples of what it looks like or what is at risk by not having long-term disability coverage, a 35-year-old who makes $100,000 a year has the earning potential of $3.2 million by the age of 67. So that is the asset that needs to be protected, the $3.2 million. If you had a $3.2 million yacht, you would definitely cover that. Or for a 40-year-old earning $200,000, that person has $5.4 million at risk. That's what that person would earn if working till age 67. A 60-year-old making $250,000 working to age 67 would be able to earn $1,750,000. That is a pretty large asset that I believe should be protected. Your income is what's supporting everything in your life. It's the only way you can do every single thing in your life is to have that income. And so it's definitely something important, something to look at protecting. And these numbers that I just gave didn't include potential raises. Of course, people as they age will make more money. It doesn't include that, which would just make it even higher. Your number would be even higher that you would need to protect. Oftentimes, people have coverage at work, and then you might have coverage at work and be thinking, well, I already got that covered. I am good. I don't need any additional coverage. I would just encourage you to look into that, to actually request what your coverage is. A lot of times it might be only short-term disability that you're covered for and not long-term. Short-term would only cover for a short period of time. And so that long-term is if you were to have an illness that lasted and caused you to be unable to work for a long time. So it's important for you to find out what your coverage is and if there are any gaps in that coverage, because you usually won't have the maximum amount of coverage that you are eligible for with just your work group plan. It's usually under, and it's usually taxable. And so if you were to need that benefit, it would be taxable to you. You would receive less funds than what you think you're receiving because you'd have to pay taxes. And so you'd be living off of maybe 40 to 50% of the income you're used to bringing home. The reason I wanted to go over this today and just talk about it is because having an unexpected and sudden tragedy or sickness enter your life that would cause you to be unable to work is definitely something that could derail your retirement plan, your plan to fund a whole life policy for an infinite banking concept, or any retirement plan. This is one thing that will definitely cause you to deplete all of your accounts if you do not have enough money to get by. Oftentimes when you become disabled and you're no longer working, so you don't have your health insurance anymore, and now that's going to be very expensive in order to continue during a time when you definitely need it because you are sick or hurt. You need to have your medical coverage. So now a huge chunk of your massively reduced income will be going towards medical insurance in order to reduce the costs of all the other astronomical things you're going to have to pay for with your medical needs. You really don't want to have to take from your future self, your future income, because maybe it's a devastating sickness or illness, but you may be able to come out of that. It may not be lifelong. It may not be life ending. You may just be sick for a time and then get back into the workforce and go on with life. And now you've depleted all those future pools of income for your future income stream in retirement. So we don't want to have to completely destroy that future income that we are depending on. And an illness like this, something that causes you to become too sick or hurt to work, may still not be enough to trigger a rider inside of your policy, your whole life policy, to pay out. Because I know I've gone over before how there are some awesome benefits inside of the policy where you can access if you were to have a long-term care need. That's different than long-term disability. Long-term care is more of a catastrophic state where you really can't feed yourself or dress yourself or bathe yourself. You have a hard time doing those things, and there's 6 of them. And so it may not be something that causes you to be unable to do 2 out of the 6 activities of daily living. So you may not be able to activate that rider. So you may not have access to up to 50% of your cash value in your whole life policy. Or depending on the company, it might be a different percentage. And I just want to be clear as well that having a policy that would protect you and bring you income on a monthly basis, tax-free, if you were to become too sick or too hurt to work, is a disability policy, a long-term disability policy, and that is different than a whole life insurance contract. That is its own standalone contract, a completely different thing. It's protecting your income as opposed to protecting for when you're going to die. It's really just a part of your overall financial plan, your overall financial picture, something that should just be looked at. You should know what you have. If you have something through work, you should know if there's a gap that you can close, because if you do close that income gap, that protection gap from whatever your work would provide for you and whatever you could get on your own, that is still going to be about 40% less than the income you're used to taking home. So you're still not going to get to being able to cover 100% of your income. It will still be less. But so that's why you want to close the gap and get as much as you can, because it's still not going to be enough. Because even by acquiring an individual disability plan, in addition to your work plan, it's still going to be less income than you're used to bringing home. But at least it will help you to not have to completely demolish your whole life plan, your retirement plan, your savings plan for the future. It's a good thing to have into your overall financial plan to be fully protected from the things that can happen in life. So if you would like to connect, if you would like to chat, if you would like my help, feel free to reach out to me at Valerie@alphaomegawealth.com. I look forward to talking with you again next time and hope that you have a great week. Take care.
This is the podcastfactory.com.